If you're thinking, Dave, you probably use some amazing framework to manage your HTML, right? You're probably using whatever the latest and greatest is. No, then you obviously don't know me very well. I write static HTML and CSS, and that's what this is. This HTML is checked into GitHub. It's very much duplicated in the other files there. It's not great, but it is what it is, and it hosts my website, and I'm able to ship it. So, you know, I have no qualms with it. All right, so here's my website here. We got it pulled up. It's a nice website. I did a pretty good job designing it myself, and I have to say, I like the way it looks. I think it's really cool, and it's actually useful. Here's the thing, though. There's nothing really special about this. This is basic HTML and JavaScript. I'll show you that. But here's the cool part. You see what's happening? You see how kind of like loaded in there? Nothing actually loaded in there. This is just some JavaScript making it look like something's loading in here. But take a look at this. Curl ysap.sh. ysap.sh, you can see that's the name of this website. You can look at it in your terminal. That's the cool thing. That's the thing I want to focus on today. So let's go ahead and pull up the terminal and I'll show you this. All right, so we got the terminal pulled up here. You can run this on your own machine. I'll show you what it looks like. Curl ysap.sh. You suck at programming, of course. That's what ysap is. Curl it and bam, there's my website. So if you saw it in the HTML page, here's what it looks like. You can see it kind of gives you like a fake little terminal looking output. If we go over here to the actual terminal, this is what it looks like. You can render it directly on your terminal. It is super cool. I want to talk about how I built this, how you can build this, where the code all this is, because guess what? All this code is open source. You can pull it right now. You could build this website right now with just a couple little commands. So here, I'll show you. Here we are. We go back to my main website over here. You can see that if you scroll to the bottom, look at this source, and then it links to this GitHub repo. Let's go ahead and open up that GitHub repo. Here we go. This is the ysap project. This is my You Suck at Programming project. I have a bunch of different things in here, but as you can see, there's a directory right here named website. This is what we're going to use. There's some instructions down here. You can even say, like, see right here, episodes, scripted notes used during the episodes, scripts and program used during Patreon shoutouts, blah, 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 right here, websites, scripts used for creating the ysap website. So if you click here, it just pulls open the directory. And this is how the website gets built using all these scripts. There's even a nice little usage message here. So if you pull the code down, you can run some of this. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you guys how to actually do this yourself and dive into how it all works. Grab the code right here, copy to the clipboard, head over to the terminal, and let's pull down a fresh copy of this. Yes, I already have this on my machine, but I'm going to pull it down to a new location just for the sake of this video. So we did a git clone on that. Anyone curious? I'm kind of lazy, so I have aliases for things like that. So I git cloned that. Now we have a new ysap directory, and here you go. There's a lot of stuff going on here. Let's go into the website directory. All right. Here is everything that's required for building the website. The nice thing is I myself don't even remember how to do this. I have a whole make file set up here. And if you run make on its own or you run make help, there you go. It'll print everything they could possibly do. Make build to make the website, check dependencies to make sure you have all the dependencies and stuff, check the scripts for syntax using shell check. We can serve the website locally. This is like a Python script, I think. Deploy it to an actual web server, run through all these, or remove any of the generated files. Let's do this one first. Make, check, deps. This will go through and make sure that we have all the dependencies needed. In order to make this website, you need bash, you need curl, and you need JQ. That's a JSON manipulation tool. So with this, we can actually do everything we need to make the website. When I say make the website, I mean the HTML aspect of it, as well as the bash or curl version of this website. And I will show exactly how that gets done. So let's do this. Make, build. And now it's going to run through and it's going to do all this stuff. If it's the first time, it has to pull some files from the internet and it will run through. And if you have those dependencies, there you go. So we made the website. Now we have a new directory called _site. Everything in here is what can be served. This is all static HTML, all stuff that you'd expect to see on a website. As you can see, we have an index.html, we have the favicon, we have a JSON file, we have the different subdirectories for tasks or for tabs. And then we have a whole bunch of fun stuff. We even have a robots.txt. I forgot that I made that. That's pretty cool. If you were to go into that directory and start serving it like a web server, it would just work. So you could serve it however you wanted. You could do like Python 3 http.server, I think is what it is. You don't have to do that. You can go back into this directory. We're in the website directory, and you can just run make serve. And this will, oh, look at that. It just actually runs the Python script for you. That's awesome. So now it is serving on port 8000. So if you go over to your web browser, so take a look over here. We're at localhost port 8000 and the website is just running. It looks exactly the same as the website does when it's live. You can load all the different tabs. We have episodes, resources. Those were all subdirectories, as you remember. So this just works. It has a bunch of HTML and CSS and all that fun stuff. But on top of that, we can also curl this. So let's go ahead and pull back up the terminal and look at what's going on here. As you can see, the web server made a bunch of requests on our behalf. Let's open up a new tab. So we have that serving in one tab. Let's open up a new tab here. And, so we open up a new tab, curl localhost 8000, and we should get that nice little website, right? We get HTML. The reason for that is because I'm doing some trickery that is not in this repository, okay? We sync these files to an nginx server, and then nginx server is responsible for determining if we get the text output for curl or if we get the HTML output for the user. I will show you that in a second, but if you want to get the text output here, you have to curl index.text, and that will give you the text version. So what's happening on the server end is it's looking at your user agent, and if it's curl, it will give you index.text. If it's anything but curl, you will get index.html. That's how it's making that decision. So that's what it looks like, but it does render here perfectly, and I will show you exactly how to make that work. Let's go check out the server. Cool, so I've SSH into the server. I didn't want to expose any sort of external IP address or anything like that, so I'm just gonna cut that part of the video, but I SSH into my server, and now that we're here, we can look at the nginx config. So we should have nginx sites.d ysap.sh, and now we have a config file for it. So let's go ahead and look at that. So a lot of stuff going on here. Let's take a look at this one first. We are listening on localhost. That's because I do some sort of reverse proxying to this. This server just hosts out of localhost. But listening on port 80, we're listening for the name www.ysap.sh. If that is found, we redirect you to without the www. That's really simple. If someone types in www.ysap, I don't want to turn them away. I just want to redirect them to the non-www variant. When you come here, this is the non-www variant, and there's a lot of stuff going on here. First thing we do is we set up error logging and access logs, so they go to this directory. We set a root. That's a directory where all the files actually live for the file or for the website. And take a look at this. There's a lot of rewrites there. If you know how my website works, you can go to ysap.sh/TikTok, and it loads my TikTok account. You can go to /YouTube and load my YouTube account, /Instagram, /Twitter, /Twitch, /GitHub, /merch, Discord, Ko-fi, Donate, Patreon. There's a whole bunch of stuff there. You're getting to see a little bit of the behind the curtains here. So these redirects are handled by nginx itself. They are not in that repository for my website I showed you. Beyond that, we do some magic here. So this weirdness here is because you can't do multiple conditionals in a single if statement in an nginx configuration, or at least you couldn't at the time that I wrote this. So we check first, are you HTTP or HTTPS? If you're HTTP, then we make this little marker of the letter A. There's nothing significant about this. It's just so I can check it later down below. And then we check if your user agent does not begin with curl, you are not curl, then we set B. Not great names, A and B, but we can use them later. And then we do some magic here. So if you curl ysap.sh/ping, you will get the text pong with a new line. That is actually returned directly from nginx. It doesn't technically have to be, but it is. So here I can run curl ysap.sh/ping, and it returns pong with a new line and a 200 status code. That's actually nginx that's returning this. Technically, I could just put a file there named ping that has the text in it pong, and I think I do that, but yeah, this gets served directly from nginx. Because it does some other stuff here, we actually return the IP address. If you curl ysap.sh/IP, you will get your own IP address. I'm not going to do that for this video, but I think I have a video where I actually talk about that. But that's pretty neat. That's pretty cool. That's something that can only be done on the server. I can't generate that statically ahead of time. I don't know what your IP address is. So now, when we load episodes, so /episodes, I'll go over to my other terminal and we'll load that. Take a look at this. If we load episodes, we get a nice formatted list. My terminal's a little bit too small, so it doesn't look that great, but we get this nice formatted list of episodes. If you were to go here in your browser, you would get an HTML file that looks basically the same. So if I pull this open, you can see I go here, I click episodes, and I'm still on localhost. One sec. There we go. This is my live website. You can see episodes here. So the table looks the same, but this is HTML rendered because it's not curl, as you can tell from that magic I was showing you earlier. So this is how we do that magic. Really simple. The first thing we check is if A and B is set. This means if it is HTTP and it is not curl, then we want to redirect them to the HTTPS variant. This means if you're requesting from the browser, you will always get funneled to HTTPS no matter what. Then we check right here. If the user agent does begin with curl, then we give them the text file. Otherwise, we give them the HTML file. That's it. That's as simple as it works. Really, really basic. If you are curl, you get the text file. If you are not curl, you get the HTML file. If you're anybody, you can request these files directly. It doesn't matter. This is just for the /episodes endpoint. So the next one here is /help. This is a page you can curl. So if I go over here, curl ysap.sh/help, I get a nice little help message with some extra commands here that I could run if I wanted to check them out. Pretty cool, pretty neat. Similar thing here, we check if it's AB, meaning it's not secure and it's through the browser, then we redirect them to the secure version. Otherwise, all we do is we set the content type. So if someone's requesting this on the browser or someone's requesting this somewhere else, we get the proper content type. We're saying, hey, this is just text/plain. That's all it is. It's UTF-8 encoded. /JSON, very, very similar. If they request it in the browser, we give them HTTPS. Otherwise, we don't give them that. I should probably talk about that. The reason I don't give them HTTPS or force people to use HTTPS is so this curl can work. If I did that, this would actually fail. You would get a redirect and you would have to type this in manually. There's nothing wrong with that. This works if you type it in manually, but it's kind of annoying. It's way catchier to say, hey guys, curl ysap.sh. It's a lot less catchy to say, hey guys, curl https://. You can, if you want to, go for it, but I just prefer this way. Otherwise, I could do something like this, follow redirects, set up redirects. I don't want to have to worry about that. Curl ysap.sh, it just works because we can transfer these bits over non-encrypted HTTP. HTTP proper, not HTTPS. So, like I was saying, /JSON is the exact same thing as above. It falls through to a file named JSON, and we just set the content type to be application/JSON. So, if we go over here, we're in the website directory. Let's go into the _site. You can see there's just a file there named JSON. And if we cat it, it just gives us JSON data. Just like there's a file named help. Help is literally just a file, and when you print it, you get the help message. So nginx doesn't have to do anything fancy there. It's just like, oh, I'll just serve this file. Like, we're just going to stream bytes. I know how to do that. The next thing we have here, the next two things, you'll notice they're very similar. If the user is requesting /, just the base URL and nothing else, that equal sign means it has to be exactly /, then we check. If it's not SSL and it's not curl, redirect them to SSL. That's pretty simple. And then just like episodes, if it's curl, we give them the text file. If it's not, then we give them the HTML file. And then finally, this is for everything else. Everything kind of falls down to this last one. If it doesn't match what's above it, we check. If it's not HTTP, or sorry, if it is HTTP and it's not curl, then we redirect them to the HTTPS version. Otherwise, we just look for files. So this handles everything like the HTML files, the JSON files, the CSS files, the JS files, anything with like proper extensions. We check the MIME types and hey, it's good to go. So that's it. That's the nginx magic under the hood. Now we can actually talk about the files here because I'm sure that's what you all are interested in. So I've thought about how to make this video, how I want to explain it, because there are a lot of scripts here, as you can see. It might be a little bit confusing. There's a lot going on. I figured the easiest way is I already showed you guys how to run the make program. You run make build, and it goes through and builds the entire website. Because we know that works, I can just show you what's in the make file. That's probably the easiest way to do this video, right? So let's do that one by one. I'll show you what's happening here. So we have our make file here. We set our shell equal to bash. Duh, that makes perfect sense. We have our help message here. That's great. Let's go look at the build thing. So the first thing we do is, if you know make file syntax, we have to make sure these dependencies are there. So we're going to look for these three files: favicon, the ysap.png, and the favicon.jpg. So we also have an ICO and a JPEG file. Yeah, it's been a while since I've even looked at this. So let's go down here and we should define those. Here we go. Take a look at this. So when we want those three files, we just grab them. We grab them from my web server. I'm hosting them specifically so we can build this website. I control these. They're up on my web server. I didn't feel like checking them into Git because now I can change these as I go along really easily. Maybe I should check them into Git. I don't know. I'm always weird about storing binary data in Git. I never know what the right thing to do is. I figure these files are probably small enough, but hey, here we are. When you run make build, it will download them once. The files will be there and then you'll be good to go. Really simple. So the next thing that happens is we make directories. So we have the underbar site, the contact directory, the static file, that's like CSS and JavaScript files will go in there, the episodes, and the resources. That kind of matches the tabs on my HTML website. And then we put a blank file into static. Why do we put a blank file there? Because I will show you. So we are on my live website here, as you can see. Let's take a look at the URL bar. We are at ysap.sh/episodes. Notice we are SSL. We'll get redirected there automatically. Hey, that's great. Let's change that to static. Okay. What happens when we load static? A white page. We don't get the auto indexing. We get a white page because of that echo line where we echoed a blank thing there. So I'll show you right here. Because we have a blank file for that, It doesn't give us auto indexing. We just get a simple blank page for it. This is my way of opting out. Oh my God, the light's like so bright on me. This is my way of opting out on auto indexing there. It doesn't really matter. I don't really care. It's just like a nice little privacy thing, I guess. There's no secret files there, but it hides the auto indexing. But if you know the URL, you could type it in. So I think style.css probably exists. And there we go. There's like my CSS file for the website. Really simple, really boring. In fact, since we're here, I'll show you a cool little secret. You see how each one of these episodes links to ysap.sh/v/ like a number, V for video. So let's go to, I don't know, number 68, the latest video at the time of this recording. So we get this nice little website for that specific video. You can watch on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. It's a nice little permalink for me. Makes it easy for people to link to this. If I were to go here, get rid of the 68 and just load V, there is no blank index file there. So you actually get the nginx auto indexing of this because I don't really care. Like, I don't care if this is up here. That's totally fine by me. Probably makes it easier for web servers to actually scrape this, which is super nice. So yeah, that's what it would look like if I didn't write a blank file there. All right, so the next blocks here, I have them labeled nicely. Copy static file. So I just copy static files directly over. I'm not using the CP command here. I didn't want to mess with like permissions and stuff that way. I figure if I just use cat and redirection here, then it will use whatever my user is set up to use. So it'll use my default umask, things like that. Also, this has the added benefit of if you use the CP command, you may have run into this. Imagine if I tried to CP favicon.ico to this, but this thing right here ended up being a directory. It would put it inside that directory, which is not what I want. I want that end result to be a file. So by using redirection here, I get a nice error if it's not a file. So that's kind of why I use cat here. Doesn't really matter. This just copies over all of these static files. So let's jump out of here and let's jump into static and let's see what I'm actually copying over. We have a whole bunch of stuff. I figure I can go through it one by one. So let's vim every single file in here. So we have bash ANSI to HTML CSS file. Remember the website? You remember how this website is generated here? This isn't a picture or anything. This is actually a script that I wrote that takes terminal output and turns it into HTML and styles it using CSS. I will get into that more later, but what you are seeing here is that CSS file that I wrote to do it all. And I show my references here, the source code's online. I will show you all of it. It is super cool. I basically had to go through, I automated a lot of this process, but I had to go through and match up all of the ANSI 256 coloring to their hex values. I think I found some resources online and then just use some Vim macros to make it happen. But that's where this giant file comes from. Again, more on that later. The next file I have is contact.html. If you're thinking, Dave, you probably use some amazing framework to manage your HTML, right? You're probably using whatever the latest and greatest is. No, then you obviously don't know me very well. I write static HTML and CSS, and that's what this is. This HTML is checked into GitHub. It's very much duplicated in the other files there. It's not great, but it is what it is, and it hosts my website, and I'm able to ship it. So, you know, I have no qualms with it. Yep, so this is the contact page, and I load in the fonts I need, I load in my CSS and stuff. I have my little top bar here where the contact page is set to be active, and yes, I have this repeated in all of the other things. So if you're wondering, how did you make that beautiful contact page? This is how I did it. I used HTML and checked it into GitHub, and it works. So yeah, no qualms there. Next one, episodes.html. Look at that. Very much similar to contact, except that the content of the page is different. However, there is some magic going on here. Look at this. Episodes table. We have the title, description, and link, and then we have an empty body. We have an empty body because I actually pull in episodes.js, and then I run this JavaScript code. Yes, I wrote JavaScript code to go through the list of episodes and turn it into an HTML formatted table. So if we pull up the website here, you can see if I go up here and I click episodes, there they are. If I refresh the page, you might actually see them kind of load in. Well, Safari kind of hides that. This table will load in a little bit after. This table is not in the HTML. It's being generated by JavaScript with episodes.js. So if I pull that file up, it's static, what is it? Static episodes.js. That's what this looks like. It is the same exact thing as episodes.json, except it's like a JSON-P file. It just defines a global variable. If you're thinking, Dave, this is incredibly lazy, why didn't you just use a framework or whatever? It's because I'm lazy that I didn't bother using a framework. I know how to write HTML and JavaScript, and I don't need anything fancier than that for a website. So this gets the job done, and I like it. So yeah, I won't dive too much in this code, but basically we loop over every episode that we see. We format the numbers. I even do some non-breaking spaces here. So that's how you know I'm a great developer, or designer actually. And then we make all of the nice little elements. We do our basic HTML encoding here. I don't know if that's great or not, but that's what we do. Also, Dave, I'm in control of what the name of my episodes and what the metadata are. So I'm not intentionally breaking this. This is not data that's coming from a user. This is data that's coming from me. So I know what data is going to be there. But I do think this is sufficient. If anyone's watching this and thinks this isn't sufficient, let me know. GitHub pull request welcome. This code is all open source, so I welcome any code corrections here. I know how to write Bash. I don't claim to know how to write JavaScript or HTML that well. But that's where we are. That's how this page works. Let's jump to the next one. This is a binary file. This is favicon.ico. This was curled. So this doesn't actually exist in the repo. This is not checked into the repo. This is just what gets pulled down so we can move it over to the site later during the build process. So same thing, JPEG file. This is just for my web server. Binary file, nothing useful there. Index.html, hey, this is the main page. Just like contact, just like episodes, it's the main page. It's all there. I wrote all this text. This isn't being pulled from anywhere special. This is just the main page you see when you get there. And that terminal at the bottom of my page is because of commands.js and terminal.js. Again, we'll jump into that because it's a lot of fun. Let's jump to the next file. Also, if you're confused, I realize I'm reading out the name of the file. I'm reading the name of the file from here and from here, just so you guys know where to look. That's how I'm seeing what the name of the file is that I'm looking at. So we have resources, just like content, just like the main page. This is just a website that apparently used to have a self-portrait of me, and I commented out because I didn't like the way it looked. So if you go to the resources page, it's all just managed here in raw HTML and checked into GitHub. So simple as that. Next page, robot.txt. I don't care who you are. You can look at my website. That's what that means. Style.css. This styles every single page. Every page pulls in this full style. As you can see, I have my theme. I pulled this from a terminal thing. My website has this theme. As long as I just use these colors, it's kind of my ysap theme. So I like it. You'll see these colors repeat themselves everywhere. I put them in variables, so I don't have to worry about it. And yeah, nothing special going on here. Just a lot of HTML and CSS to make this website work. This isn't even the fun stuff. I want to jump into the bash stuff because I feel like that's the fun stuff. We got terminal.js, and I think, let me double check. We had commands.js. I'll look at commands first, then we'll look at terminal.js because I feel like that'll make more sense. Video.html. Remember how every single video page, I'll show you over here. Let's go back to my website. Everything here, we have V27, V34, V65. You click into here and you get a page for that video. Every single video uses the same page. So it's the same HTML file. It's just copied over a bunch. And the HTML itself has JavaScript in it to look at this URL and figure out which one to load from a list of episodes. So even though this HTML is being given from the server, it's technically being copy and pasted. I will show ya. So we have all the data here for embedding a YouTube video. We have the ID, video YouTube link, video Instagram link. Notice that there is no hyperreference here. They are just pound signs. They are set by JavaScript. So then I load in the static list of episodes here. And once that's loaded in, remember, it's like a big JSON-P file with an all uppercase episodes thing. I figure out what video we are based on the Windows location. I look at the URL. I figure out the video using some regex. This is probably ugly, probably can be broken, but hey, here we are. I figured that out. I load the metadata for it like this. And once we get that metadata, then we can start formatting things. We can format the title of the website. We can format the YouTube frame. We can set the external links, and we are good to go. If this fails for whatever reason, I want to say it fails gracefully by just not changing the HTML. So let's do an episode that doesn't exist. Let's do, I don't know, episode 5999. Oh, we get not found. Let's do... Oh yeah, I didn't even think about that. Oh, I'm dumb. Yeah, because the HTML has been copy and pasted, it's technically like it shouldn't ever fail, because when I load, like, let's say episode 59, it actually pulls up the HTML inside the directory 59. So I don't actually know if there's a way to give it data that's not the same. If you could, it should just pull up. I don't know now. Whatever. I don't really care. This seems like it works, so that's fine by me. Okay, so I lied. I am curious what's going on here, so let's figure it out, okay? Let's back out of this directory, take a look where we are. We're in website. Let's go into underbar site. This is where the final website is. Static episodes.js. and let's just start deleting them. Let's just trash them all. There we go. So now episodes is a blank array, so no episode should be valid. Let's back out of here, see where we are, make serve, and now we're serving the website. Let's pull up the browser, let's pull up localhost. Cool, we got the website running here. Let's click episodes, and we got nothing. That's great, that's what we want. Let's manually put one in. V1, and look at this. This is cute. I forgot I did this. So if you somehow get into this state where something breaks or something doesn't load the way you want it, we get this. We get object. That's a lie. It's a hard-coded string that I made, but it's cute. Nothing here yet, bud. And we get the 50 episode compilation episode, and none of these links actually go anywhere. So in the event of catastrophic failure, this is what you get. I figure, hey, this is not too bad. Kind of cute. So yeah, I totally forgot I made this. All right, we're getting sidetracked here. Back on track. Going to static. What else do we have? We had video.html. We had ysap.png. Okay, nothing super interesting there. Let's back out of here and let's talk about the one thing that I said we were going to talk about. We haven't quite got there yet. I think it was commands.js. Yes. So before we talk about the terminal stuff, that happens down here. Let's work our way there. Okay. So now we've copied over these static files. That's great. The next thing we do is we make /ping endpoint. Nginx handles this for me, but just in case. So that's why I did this. I figured there's no reason for Nginx to handle this, even though I have it in there. It used to handle it. I was like, wait, why not just make a static file that has it? So that's how this was added. This was added later, and I didn't care to take it out of Nginx. So this just echoes the word pong into this file ping. So if you're on the, Python serving this, you can get ping data back. So if I make serve here and open up a new terminal, curl, localhost 8000/ping. There we go. We get that file because that little file existed. Cool. Next thing we have down here is create ASCII index page for curl users. Now we're getting into the cool stuff. Sorry it took so long, but that was a lot of setup to say, let's get to the cool stuff. So we run this script, make index. You're going to notice a theme here. Let's create the ASCII help page. Make help. Let's create the episodes ASCII table. Make episodes. I like to name things very clear, very concisely. So we have a make index script and we write that into site index. So if we cat site index, if you remember, this is what gives us this website. So if we run make index, we should get that exact same thing. There we go. That constructed that in real time. So we actually saw the process to make that. Again, all these color codes are just ANSI escape sequences. So if I were to pipe to something like cat -v, you can see this basically is what's being sent to the user. Your browser has no idea what to do with this, but your terminal does. And that's why your terminal can explain or can show it to you. So if I run this and pipe it to something like less, you can see that we have all these ANSI escape sequences there. No good. If we pipe it to less -r, we can interpret the sequences and suddenly we have something that makes a lot more sense. So I have some videos in the past where I talk about this. I won't talk about that here, but basically that's what's happening here. So it's text plus ANSI escape sequences. But again, we run this, we get the full website. So let's take a look at make index. Here we go. Generate the page as seen by curl ysap.sh. The first thing we do is we source the theme and then we break out if we're done. Let's back out of here. Let's take a look at that theme file. It's just a file called theme. My personal color theme for the website, loosely based on a dark solarized theme. So these are the colors I've chosen. If you remember from the CSS file, I had 5 colors there. That's what's going on here. I picked these colors first because I like them, and then I turned them into their hex values in CSS. So you can see I have color 1, color 2, color 3, color 4, color 5. I can use them however I want. This is the ANSI color code that will resolve to that. So I'll show you if I'm on my terminal here. I could source that right here, and I could echo like color 1, hello world, and then RST for reset, and then I get that. So these are just the colors that I've picked for my color scheme. If you've seen my website, you know that these are the colors you'll typically encounter. Bam, there's all the colors there. So the first thing we do is we pull in the theme. That's great. Make index, pull it back up. Then look at this. See this curly brace? See how that curly brace goes down there? That is a way of grouping commands. We're creating a command group in Bash. So all of these commands will emit to standard out, and then we're going to pipe all of that into this program called lpad, and then we're going to pipe all of that into rtrim ANSI aware. Let's talk about that. So the first thing we do is we run make header -p7, and then we pipe that into tools box, HP4, tplay. What's happening here? These are all scripts that I've written. We'll do them one at a time. Make header -p7. Let's go ahead and run that. Make header -p7. There's the header of the website. That's how that works. This is how I've broken these scripts down. I've made them really, really simple scripts that do one thing and do it very well. What's the P? Padding. That's how much padding goes between the two. Why did I pick 7? Because I liked it. That's it. I just arbitrarily picked 7. That's a little mixture of styling and stuff and code. So if you're like, Dave, why don't you extract this out into one big CSS file? Listen, I tried. I'm not good at that. I like to mix styling and code because it's easy. So we got this going on. Let's take a look at make header. So we have header here. Print the colorized ysap logo and metadata. Use the header for all pages. You can request via curl. Hey, that's awesome. Simple. We pull in the theme. Makes perfect sense. Then we pull in something called repeat char. So repeat char is a script. As you can see, there's a lot of scripts that exist in tools. These are, I believe they're all bash scripts. Yeah, look at that. They're all bash scripts. They're pretty much bash scripts that I've written to do simple tasks. So we pull in repeat char. We can pull that script open here. Repeat a given character multiple times and return a string. So in this example, you can see you can call repeat char with an equal sign and 50, and it will return a string of 50 equal signs. That's all it does. Super simple, very simple command. That way, when I do make header, we can do things like repeat char, a space character, and the number of padding. So remember, I gave it padding 7. We just repeat the space character 7 times, put it in a variable called padding, and then we can use that variable later. That's how it works. Very, very simple. So really simple. We take arguments. We take the -p from the user. We can give it 7, but you could technically put anything there. Then we read the logo in. So I have a script called make logo. Look at this. This is the line I'm talking about. So let's go out of here and run make logo and see what's happening. Make logo. There we go. That's the ysap logo. I painstakingly designed this by hand. That sucked. I don't want to ever have to do that again. If I do that in the future, I'll probably reach to something like DirDraw or something in Python. Something where I can do ANSI art easily without having to do it manually because that sucked. But I know you'll be interested. I'm even interested. It's been a while. Here is what it looks like. We just printf all this to the screen. I don't know why I just didn't put this into a static file. I don't even know what the point of printf here is for. But yeah, that's how we do it. I don't even know why it's its own file and not, or why it's its own script and not just a static file, but that's what it is. This was all designed by hand in a text editor. That sucks. I never want to have to do it again, but it's beautiful and it's nice. And I got these nice little colors. So now we can make a logo. So back to make header. We make the logo and we do something called map file. This means there is now a variable called logo, and that is an array of every single line of the logo. We are getting the logo line by line so we can tack on this text to the right of it. So we print one line of the logo, then we print the text to the right. Print one line of the logo, then we print the text to the right. That's how I'm doing that. So we have a description text. You suck at programming, episodes and guides by Dave Eddy, blah, blah, blah. That description is what you saw. Then we loop over how long the logo is, and we grab a line from the logo, a line from the description, and we tack it together with the padding. Very simple. It's exactly what I described. And that gives us this nice little make header script with an optional padding where you can just give it, whatever you want. Don't give it 999. I don't know what I was thinking. I just thought that'd be cute. You can do that. That looks terrible. 10. Hey, that looks better. So I think if you don't give it anything, it's a padding of 1. Yeah, that looks fine. Just a sane default. Cool. So let's go back to make index. We run make header -p7, but then we pipe that into tools box. We give it hp4-t plain. I'm not going to remember these. I'm going to copy these. Let's run make header -p7, pipe it to tools box, and then give it those arguments that I would have no way remembered. Run this. Look at that. We get the same thing, but notice that there's padding at the top, there's padding at the bottom, there's padding at the left, and you can't see it, but there is padding to the right, okay? It's very important. What's happening here? Well, we put a box around it with an HP of 4, a horizontal padding of 4. Tools box is a script I wrote to put boxes around things. It takes a help message -h, and that makes it super nice because I forget what my own options are. There's a whole list of options here. Echo, hi, pipe it into tools box, and I didn't echo anything there. Echo, hi, I should actually write what I'm saying. And it puts a box around it. That's what the script does. You can also, of course, pipe box into box as many times as you want. Don't know why you want to do this, but of course you can do this. There's a lot of stuff that went into making this script work. So let's do something else here. Let's say like, hello world, pipe that into box. Awesome. HP4, that's a horizontal padding of 4. What other options do we have? VC2, that's a vertical, or VP2, vertical padding. So we take optional amounts of padding in either direction. BC, TC, so BC for the box color, and I can just put an ANSI escape sequence here. So remember how I had those before for my theme color 1? I should just be able to put that there and get rid of -H for help. And there we go. Now we have color 1 there. TC is the title color. We can give it color 2, but there is no title. So let's go ahead and give it a title. -T, let's call it my title. So the title is what shows up here. So you can color them, you can do whatever you want. What else do we have? And we have a theme. So -T was plain. Plain means that there are no characters, no box characters at all. The title will still show up there, but we have no box characters. We support Unicode and we support ASCII. So that's what happens there. I simply used in my example, I think it was HP4 here and -T plain. Yeah, the reason for that was just to put that around make header, just to add some breathing room around it. Because when you curl ysap.sh, we got some breathing room at the top. We got some breathing room at the left. So that's what's happening there. Let's pull back up the make index page and see what's happening here. So we have make header, we pipe that into tools box. Now we built a box around it. That's awesome. The next thing we do is we do a little echo here that just moves things down a little bit. And then we run make body. So what does make body do? Make body does that. As you can see, remember we learned about that box script. You can see, hey, look, a box script there and a box script there with a nice little thing here. And this has a line down the middle so you can pipe multiple things into box. So what does that mean? Take a look at this. Imagine if we did echo hello, comma, world, and we had that pipe it into tools, box, and let me remember what they are, -S, comma, for the separator character. And now we can separate these. So you can give it column data and it will separate them based on the character you give it there. So that's what's happening with make body. We're giving it some sort of character so we can separate the name of the social and the actual link to the social. So let's take a look at make body. There's a lot going on here. I don't remember there being so much, but there's a lot going on here. Very similar to how we read in the logo data where we used map file to read it in line by line. We're doing that here. We're reading the about section in and the socials section. And the reason we're doing that is because we want to put them next to each other. That's why we're reading both of them into an array. But let's actually dive into what's happening here because I have to remember myself. This is a mess. We run make about, and then we pipe that into this giant box command. I'll never remember these. So let's go ahead and do this manually. You can see make about. All it does is print the about section with new lines and coloring. That's all it does. And you can literally see that here. We use read array to read it into an array. And then we put coloring at the beginning of the line and coloring at the end of the line. That's all that's happening here. So make about does that, pipe it into this, and now we suddenly get that. So if we understand from last time, the title is about, which shows up here, horizontal padding of 1, so there's 1 space here, a vertical padding of 1, so there's 1 space here. The BC, which is the color for the box, is color 4, which is this gray color. The title color is color 5, which is this yellowish color, and the separator character is a pipe. We're not using a pipe in the input, but that's what the separator character is set to. That will be more relevant when we take a look at the next example of socials. It's the exact same thing, but instead of about, we have socials as the title. So let's go ahead and do this, and let's run, make socials. That's what happens there. Notice that they are separated by a pipe character, right? So we have make socials. It's the exact same thing as we saw before. We just read it into a giant array, and then we break it on pipes, and we colorize each line how we want it. So as you can see, this has the color, this has the color, plus it's italicized, so it kind of looks like a link. I used to have it blue, I changed it, I don't remember. Make socials, pipe that to, why did I copy that to my clipboard? Tools, box, and whatever else was there. So that's what it looks like. If I do the separator character of a pipe, we get that. If I pull back up, what was it? Make body, and we grab this whole thing, and we run make socials through it, it should look exactly how we saw it before. So, that looks bad. There we go. That's what we see. So let's pull back up make body. What it does is it grabs the about section, it grabs the social sections, it gets the length of both of them, calculates the longer length, so the body, either the socials or the about section could be longer, it doesn't matter. And then we go through and we tack them next to each other. We also do some magic here because we need to get the length of the line. We need there to not be ANSI escape sequences, because if you have a color code in a string that counts towards the length, we don't want that. So we have to actually strip the ANSI out of it, the escape sequences out of it, to get the length of the string when it doesn't have the ANSI escape characters in it. So we use strip ANSI, which is another tool that I had originally wrote it, and then I swapped it out to this Stack Overflow example where they do it. It's a little bit slow, but as far as I can tell, this works. This gets the job done perfectly, does everything we need to do. Vim doesn't like it. It doesn't syntax highlight it properly, but I promise it works. That's how we do that. Hopefully that makes sense to people. If you're lost, I would encourage you to pull down this code like I did at the beginning of the video and mess around with it. Open up MakeBody. Start putting things in here. Like, if you want to get an idea, you can go like echo hi, and then you can rerun MakeBody, and you can see where the text hi shows up, and you can start making modifications to kind of help yourself understand this code. Let's get back to it, because we're not even done yet, believe it or not. We still have a lot more to go. Create the legend. That's the last thing we do now. So what is the legend? Make legend. It is that. All make legend is that. It says legend at the top. Kind of looks like a box, a plain box, doesn't it? And then it shows us some basic things like curl ysap, curl episodes, blah, blah, blah. Let's fire open make legend here. Wow, I don't remember this. So if we scroll down past that function, which I have no idea what it does, we can see we have our legend here, but then we also take an argument. We take a -f for full, and then we format a box around all this stuff. I remember now. Okay, I won't get too deeply into this because it actually calls box for us. I think I've set you guys up enough to be able to understand it. Let's just show make legend and then make legend -f. This is 3 boxes next to each other. This is what shows up in the help page. If you remember when you curl ysap.sh/help, you get an expanded legend. That's how I do it here. So I just have 3 different functions to kind of format the box properly. Yeah, now I'm remembering. I did some check for like a % so I could colorize the commands. That's why the curl command here is colorized one way and this is colorized a different way. So anything here gets colorized differently. That's kind of the style I was going with, and I'm glad I stuck with it. But yeah, there's a lot of confusing code there to make sure that's the case. I don't feel like diving into it. That's a mess. Why didn't I just write this to standard out and put this in a function? Whatever, it works. So go back to make index. So we write all that stuff that I showed you out to lpad and then rtrim ANSI aware. So I will show you what that looks like. Let's do make header. No, let's do make legend. Make legend is simple enough. Awesome. Pipe that to tools lpad. This pads the left of the string with whatever characters you give it. So I can put anything here, and that will show up on the left of the string. That kind of looks cool. I just use that to pad it with 2 spaces just because I wanted it moved over a little bit. So that's all lpad does. It's a simple script that takes an input, literally reads line by line, and appends whatever the first string is to the beginning of line. That's all it does. So you can just give it anything here. I could put like, I don't know, $user, that, and then it would just say Dave a bunch of times. So we lpad it with 2 spaces, puts 2 spaces at the beginning, and then we pipe it to tools rtrim ANSI aware. This is a relatively new thing, and I'll show you what it does. If we were to run make legend, awesome. Notice that legend has a bunch of spaces here. It has spaces as long as the table is. There's no characters there, but it has spaces. I can prove this by replacing, using sed, I can replace, what is it? The end of the line, which is a $, with a literal period, and then look at this. You can see the lines end here. That's annoying. I would rather these extraneous spaces be removed because it just takes up unnecessary space. So that's what this script does. rtrim ANSI aware. Tools rtrim ANSI aware. Right trim, meaning trim the right side of the string, but it's aware of ANSI. So it will only trim things that don't, or it will handle ANSI escape sequences. So what happens here is there's a bunch of spaces here, but there might be a reset sequence here that I can't see. This script is smart. It's like, okay, there's a bunch of spaces, but it just ends in a reset. Let's grab that reset and just move it to the beginning of all the spaces. So when I rerun this script with the sed, you can see that the dot shows up here. This dot shows up there. I don't know about that. And this dot shows up here, and this dot shows up here, and this dot shows up here, and this dot shows up at the beginning. I don't love that this one shows up here. I totally thought it would show up at the beginning, so live demo, this is what I get. But it trims off some of the space. This is very useful. This was born out of frustration, because when I would curl my website in the terminal, look at this, see how much room I have over here? Before I would R-trim it, it would break. It would get wrapped. It looked like this, and that was terrible. So that's why that was born. It was born out of frustration because of this specific layout for these videos that I make. I wanted the terminal to look good. So I made this whole stupid little script to R-trim ANSI aware, which doesn't look like much, but it took so much work to be able to get here. So basically, I don't like that curl ysap.sh has some extra white space to the right that causes it to word wrap on smaller terminals even though no visible characters are there. So I wrote this tool to clean it up. This only works for lines that end in a reset sequence. That's how this got created, okay? Relatively recently, born out of frustration, where most of the best code is born. That's how that works. When you pull it all together and everything runs here, you get my website. And when you host this as a file, nginx can serve this out based on your user agent. So when you curl ysap.sh, that is what happens to give you this. That logic to generate this page only runs once. It runs on my machine, and then I output the text file to the server. So the server is not running this bash code, okay? This code is running once, and then the server dishes out the static files. The server's only ever generating static files for you, or dishing out static files. Technically, the /IP endpoint does do a little bit of server-side magic, but yeah, that's how that works. So that's a lot, but I can just tell people, hey, I can just tell people curl ysap.sh and hey, there's my website. So that's pretty nice. That's pretty awesome. So what else do we have? We have our make file here. We have make index. We have make help. There's not going to be much new here. You guys are already kind of prepped to see what's happening here. Same thing. We load in the theme. We run all this stuff and we pipe it to lpad and rtrim ANSI aware, just like we did. Nothing new there. We run make header, pipe the tools box. We already did that. So the only thing new here is we're running make legend-f. So if we run make help, we get that, there we go. We get that with the full legend. Remember, if we run make legend-f, we get just that. So you can see make help just pads it a little bit to the left and tacks on the header at the top because the header looks kind of cute. And you can grab this yourself, curl ysap.sh/help, and you get that message. That's how that works. Next one. Where's the next one? I already forgot. Make episodes. So it's a lot going on here. I will show you what happens when we run make episodes. A little bit cut off from my terminal. Don't love it. I'll stretch it out. It'll get cut off in the video a little bit, but you can see like that's what it's supposed to look like. So you get the header, and then you get this box of all of the episodes that we see. I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Just remember that it looks beautiful. Promise you won't forget, okay? If you're in the comments, just promise me you don't forget that the episodes page looks beautiful. If you have made it this far in the video, just go ahead and make a comment about how the episodes page looks beautiful, because I have put so much time into this page, and I think like 4 people look at it. I'm not mad. I'm not upset. It's just, it's so funny how that ends up working. You put so much time into like engineering one thing where it's like, if I just put that much time into making YouTube videos, I'd probably, get to 100,000 subscribers quicker, which is my ultimate goal. If you're watching this video, you made it this far, go ahead and hit subscribe. I appreciate it. We're trying to hit 100,000 subscribers. At the time of this recording, I have 46,000. So thank you, everyone. Thank you for hitting subscribe. Let's jump back into it. How does this work? Make episodes. There we go. So generate the page as seen by curl ysap.sh/episodes. We have a lot of functions here. Oh boy, do we have a lot of functions here. Why? Because the functions do the heavy lifting. Let's see what we do here. We create the header, we pipe that into tools box, and we pipe that into rtrim ANSI aware. Hey, that's simple enough. We've seen this. Maybe we could have put this all the way at the bottom of the script. I don't know why I didn't do that, but that's what we have here. So we have this. We've made the header before. We know what that looks like. The thing here that's interesting is we create the table, we pipe it to format, and then we pipe it to tools box. So we box up the whole episodes table. Let's reverse this. Let's start with make list. What does make list do? Make list. This is a lot. That's a lot. So let's scroll up and see. We have 1, the episode number, tab, bash intro, that's the title of the episode, tab, a description, tab, a URL, tab, the TikTok URL, the YouTube URL, and then the Instagram URL. That is how that works. So we have tab delimited data here. Weird for a human, but easy for a computer. We can just process it. We could use a whole bunch of things. If we're using external tools, we can use the basic cut command. We can say, let's use the delimiter character of tab, and let's grab the first field, and there's all the episode numbers. Let's grab the second field. There's all the episode titles. There's all the episode descriptions. There are all the relative URLs. There's all the TikTok URLs. There's all the YouTube URLs. And there's all the Instagram URLs. And I don't think there's an 8th field. Awesome. So if you ever thought to yourself, hey, Dave, I'm going to scrape all your stuff, just go to GitHub and pull this list, man. You don't got to scrape anything. It's all here for you. So we have make list. It's tab separated data. We could pipe that into something like while ifs equals tab read -r num title description yada yada yada, etc. I'm not going to do all of them, and then we can just echo num title done, and then we get a syntax error because I forgot to put a do here, because I always do that. Put a do here because you have a do and a done, and there we go. There's our titles with that. We could also do like a space hyphen description $description, or desk I think is what I called it, and there you go. There's all the titles with their descriptions. So weird for humans, but super easy for computers. So we have that make list thing, and we pipe make list into format. So what is format? Format is a function I define up here. And look, I do exactly what we did below, what I showed you guys on the terminal. While the internal field separator is a tab, read all of these fields from it, and then format the title, format the description, format the link, and print them separated by tabs again. So format just prints the same data, the title, the description, and the link separated by tabs. Because they're separated by tabs, you can see that we pipe it to box with the tab as the separator character. So that's how we box the whole thing up at the end. But what does format do? It formats 3 things: a title, description, and a link. So to format the title, we need the number, we need the name, we need the number to be 2 digits. So even if it starts with a 0 or something, and then we need the number with a period, and then the title here, the name of it here. So number in color 4, period, space, the title. So if we go back here and we curl ysap.sh/episodes, I will show you what that looks like. A little bit ugly. Let me do this again. There we go. So we have the box here, and then we have the title here. So number, period. Look, it's moved to the right because of that printf, for like, it doesn't actually put spaces, it puts blank characters there. Spaces are blank characters. It doesn't put zeros there, it puts spaces there. My God, I've been at this for too long. Sorry guys, this is way longer than I expected this to be like a quick, 10-minute long video. I am so sorry, this is so involved. So yeah, that's how the title gets formatted. Period, space, and the title itself in this color. And that's how the title gets formatted. What about when we format the description? Take a look at the descriptions. You see that some of these are highlighted, some of them are different colors. How do we do that? Well, let's go down to format description. We run a function called format ticks. Format ticks. What are ticks? Backticks. Why is that important? Because when we run make list and then we pipe it to cut with the tab, and then we grab field 3, which is the description, some of these descriptions have backticks. So using CD spell and auto CD interactively, if we were to go ahead and run the make episodes thing, look at the bottom, CD spell and auto CD are highlighted different color because they are surrounded by backticks. So format ticks is what does that. We alternate colors, color 5 for one, color 2 for the other. And all we do is it's kind of like a mini state machine. We just loop over the text character by character. If we encounter a backtick, we change the color index. So we just swap the currently active color and then we put that new color code in there. And then otherwise we just put the character in that. That's very confusing. What does that mean? We start with color 5. Color 5 is this yellowish text color, and then we swap to color 2. So what happens is we read through the thing, we read through this line by line. So we read through this character by character, we encounter a backtick, we change from color 5 to color 2, and now the rest of the characters are in color 2 until we encounter the next backtick. The backticks also, because of that, are removed. This saves on space, allows me to shrink it a little bit visually by changing the color. So we remove the backticks and turn them into new colors by simply alternating between these two colors every time we encounter a literal backtick. That is how that works. Super simple. With all of that, we can run make list, pipe it to format, pipe it to the tools box, and then we get this script, which takes a long time to run. I mean, relatively. And there we go. That's how we make our episodes. Let's talk about the next one because this one's really fun. Make episodes JSON. So if you curl ysap.sh/JSON, you get a JSON representation of all the episodes. That, of course, lives here, JSON. It's just a file, the exact same thing. How do we generate that? Make episodes JSON. So let's go ahead and run this script. And we get the JSON. Hey, yeah, that makes sense. Let's take a look at that script. How does that actually work? Make episodes JSON. So the first thing we do is we store the base link as ysap.sh. I probably could put this in a config somewhere. We just use that. This shows up where we tack on all the relative links. So all the links in the JSON file right here will actually link to ysap.sh. They don't just link to v68. That's why that's being stored there. Then we take an argument from the user. I'll get into the argument in a second because right now we're running it without an argument. This is what the final object will look like. So this is what the final thing the user sees is we have a title, a description, a link, a number, and then external. Every single episode in the episodes array will look like this. I'll have title, description, link, number, external. Title, description, link, number, external. It shows up multiple times, but we store it once here, and we're going to use JQ to format all this. Then we loop over all of the data that comes from make list. So remember, make list outputs tab separated data. So just like in our original script, we read that data in, no different than how we've done it before. And this is a for each episode. So for each episode, we fork JQ and we format this JSON blob with all of the data that we've read in from the file. And then we push that onto an array. So we have an array of JSON strings in Bash. Weird, but that's what we have. We have an array of JSON strings. So here is our final JSON down here. This is what the final object looks like. Name, site, generated in episodes. Episodes is an array. If we go up here to, make episodes JSON. Let's pipe this to head. Let's just look at the top of it. Name, site, generated, and an array of episodes. That's all that's happening there. So the name is You Suck at Programming. The site is the link above that we pass in through here as an argument. The generated is the $date, which we pass in here, which we've generated up here, which is the Unix timestamp, just an epoch time of when I generated the script, and episodes. So that is an array of all the input. The inputs are new line separated, and they're passed in as new line separated JSON strings to JQ from standard input. So that's how that works. That's how we're safely constructing JSON with Bash. It's kind of wild, but it works. We're looping over every episode of making this. Then the last thing we do is we check if the user gave us a var name. Optionally is JSON-P if the first arg is set. So I will show you what that looks like. Let's go ahead and run make episodes JSON, pipe that to head. That's what the top of it looks like. If we give something here like episodes, then we'll get JSON-P. It just tacks on this string and it puts a semicolon at the end. This way I could load this on the website directly because it's JS now. It's JavaScript, it's not JSON. That's how that works. So all right, let's pull up the make file. Let's actually spell it right this time. Cool, we got the make file here. So where were we? We were at make episodes JSON. We write that out. We also have, it's a little bit out of order, but we have make episodes JSON episodes here. So we write that out to episodes.js. We also do another JSON-P, which is the commands thing. So to get back to all the way at the beginning of the video when I showed you that cool little JavaScript terminal, that's how this is implemented. We have make commands JSON-P. I will show you what that looks like. Make commands JSON-P. This is a list of commands that has already been formatted in HTML as an array of these command objects. You could have more than one command here. I only have one. This is very confusing. This is super confusing because it's not meant for you to read. It's meant for the website to read. And I will show you. This command, we have curl ysap, and here are all the lines of it. Here's what it looks like on the website. So curl ysap was the command, and here are all the lines of output. So what I did is I went through, piped this main website into a script that turned it into HTML, stored every line of those HTML already rendered, and then I used JavaScript to write those pre-rendered HTML lines out line by line so it looks like it's loading in. That's how this is working here. So pop this back open. I will show you what that looked like. Let's go to make commands JSON-P. Right now, I only have one command here, which is curl ysap, and this is what the output of it looks like. I used to have another one of curl ysap /help. So the website used to like show one site and then collapse up and show another site, and then collapse up and show another. It was too busy. I didn't like it, so I just took it out, but I left all the logic there. So here's the one command we support, curl ysap, and to get the lines, we use make index. So you guys all know make index. This just makes the basic index page, and then we pipe that to tools, ANSI to HTML, capital H. So you're probably thinking, Dave, is that a bash script to turn ANSI into HTML? Yes, it is. And this is the one that I wrote. This is the one I talked about at the beginning of the video. Let me close this terminal a little bit. I kind of made it a little bit too big. There we go. So I will show you because I have it over here. Here it is. It's available. It's in its own repo. I've also copied the source code over. ANSI to HTML. This gives you the whole CSS file with it. Extremely opinionated. I wrote this tool specifically for my website related to the ysap series, but it works and it works beautifully. You can echo code that has ANSI escape sequences in it to ANSI HTML, and it outputs everything. And it even says like, oh, generated by ANSI, whatever. And it gives you a whole bunch of examples. So you can run like ls and pipe it to that. And you can get all sorts of stuff. Implemented in pure bash, absolutely zero external utilities are used. Will error whenever it doesn't encounter anything that it knows. Reads input for standard in, writes the standard out. Hey, that's awesome. No inline styling. This tool opts to use CSS class names and stuff like that. So you kind of have to pull in the CSS thing. Long story short, I will show you what it looks like because it's a super cool program. I could probably make a video dedicated to ANSI to HTML because if I just, let's run ls color equal always this, I can pipe it to tools ANSI to HTML. And there we go. It's taken ls output and turned it into that. I don't remember. I think I gave it dash capital H. What does that even do? It's been so long since I've used this code. Dash capital H. Don't omit the HTML programmer header content. Oh yeah, I have that little header at the top that says this was generated by ANSI or whatever. Dash H just makes it not omit this. Oh yeah, I couldn't omit this because I stored it in the thing. Oh my God, it's been so long since I've touched this code, guys. But a lot of people have been asking me to go over this, so I'm happy to jump through it. So this converts HTML or ANSI into HTML, which is super nice. If you've ever seen my bash style guide, style.ysap.sh, this is what it looks like. You can actually load this website in your browser too. Here we go, style.ysap.sh, and it looks exactly the same. It's because it is exactly the same. I rendered the text on the terminal first, and then I pipe it to ANSI to HTML to actually generate this nice little HTML page you're looking at. In fact, if you look at this HTML page without a CSS file, it looks like this. And hey, that's actually pretty cool. I don't know. I like it. I think it's neat. So yeah, that's how I generated that. Getting super sidetracked here. Let's remember what we're doing. We have, what is it? Make commands JSON P. There we go. So here's the example command, curl ysap.sh, and here's what the output should be. So make index pipe to ANSI to HTML, and then we loop over each one and we store it as JSON. So we're looping over each line of that output. Remember the output is here. This is HTML output. We're looping over each line and then turning it into that JSON that you saw. So really simple here. Commands equal an array, even though the array only has one element in it, with a command name, and these are the lines of output it generates, just as basic HTML. So on my terminal page, I just loop over each line. Let's pull it up now. I think it's static terminal.js. Terminal emulator display to look like commands are being typed and output is being generated. That's how it works. All the config stuff is up here. So here's the typing speed. If you actually go to the website, you can see like it pauses. There's an initial delay. Then it types in the command and then it loops over line by line and displays the output line by line. And then the cursor goes back to just blinking there like it's waiting for input. So all of that is customizable. We have the typing speed, that's in milliseconds, so there's a millisecond delay between each character being hit. The initial delay, we don't do anything until 2.2 seconds has passed, so the whole website loads, you see it, and then 2.2 seconds after that, it starts outputting. The subsequent delay, this is how long to show the command until we show the next command. There is no next command, so this never actually gets triggered. And then cursor blink start and cursor blink end. These are just sort of symbols that I use in the state machine of when I should be blinking the cursor. So when the user is typing the command, when it looks like the user is typing the command, we blink the cursor. When the output is being generated, we don't blink the cursor because that would make no sense. Once the user is able to type more commands, again, you can't type into this, but once the user would be able to type more commands, we blink it again. So you can see cursor's blinking. It's blinking as they type. No, it's not blinking. It stopped blinking as they type. It stopped blinking when it loads, and then it starts blinking again. So we just turn on and off the blinking based on that symbol. Yep. So I won't go too much into this code, but you can see we have like a cursor blink end command the command to actually run, a new line, the output, the blank prompt at the bottom, and then a cursor blink start. So these are little commands that just tell the thing like, hey, you should be blinking or you shouldn't be blinking. And then we go through and we simulate typing. I'm not a great JavaScript programmer. I've done it a lot in the past, and I actually used to do it professionally in the context of Node, and I think I've lost a lot of my abilities there. So this code works, and it was good enough for me. That's how the terminal stuff works over there. Back to the make file, because we were almost done. We make the episodes JSON. This is the JSON P file. That's great. The last thing we do is we also store episodes as episodes.json. So this is just a nice little thing. We just duplicate the file, because if you curl ysap.sh/json, you get that. But I know some people will curl episodes and they'll be like, wouldn't it be nice if we could just do episodes.json? Yeah, it would be nice, and you can. So that totally works just fine. They should be exactly the same because one just gets copied to the other. It's not a redirect or anything. We just basically cat the file one over the other one. The last thing we need to talk about, the video pages. What am I talking about there? I showed them to you earlier. When I go to the website, I scroll up, we hit episodes, then we load, let's say video 68. We jumped into this a little bit, but we're going to talk about how the HTML files actually get written out, okay? If we ls site and then we ls the v directory, you can see it as a directory for every single video, and every single directory has an index.html page in it. If we were to do an MD5 sum of all of them, you will notice that they're a directory. Right, star.html. You will notice the MD5 is the same for each file. They are the same contents. They are all just copied and pasted. This is stored in static video.html. This file is literally just copied over, but the logic that copies it over is in the make video pages script. So make a page for each video by copying the static video page. Simple enough. Can we use symlinks instead? For now, just copy them because they are small files. So look, I've even asked these questions. That's so funny. Making video pages in site v. So this just goes ahead and does that. We run that make list script. Remember the tab separated data? And we read the information out of it that we need. All we needed was the number. We don't need anything else. We just need the episode number. If that episode number exists, we should make a page for it. We do a little sanity checking here. We just make sure that what we have looks like a number. If we're going to create files in the file system, we should make sure that they look how we expect them. Imagine if someone had slash or dots or something in here. We could be overwriting files we don't want to. I control this data. I shouldn't have those files in there or those weird characters in there, but this is a just in case. Let's just make sure it matches a number regex. Then we make dir that folder inside v for it. We cat the static page into that, so every single one gets the same one. And then we do I++ here. The only reason we do I++ is we can say made pages for I videos. So if I go and run make video pages, it'll run through and it'll say made pages for 68 videos. That's because I have 68 episodes up at the time of this recording. Last one was CD, quality of life. I hate this page just doesn't quite fit on the terminal. Whatever. It is what it is. So yeah, my voice is getting a little bit hoarse. This, I always say I'm going to make these quick videos, and they end up taking so much longer. I am just a certified yapper, dude. Like, I hope you guys enjoy this content. I hope I don't bore you too much, but I am just a certified yapper. It is wild. You put me in front of a camera, I just love to talk. I think that's it. I think we covered everything here. With all this, you should be able to make this website. So I showed you at the beginning. You just pull down this ysap repo. Everything you need to make the website is here. You go into website, you run make build, and now you will have the website existing in the underbar site directory. So feel free to mess around. It's all open source. Feel free to jump in here, make changes, mess around. If you find bugs, go ahead and open a pull request for it. I love when you guys open pull requests for like bugs and stuff you find. A couple people have made pull requests with like feature changes and stuff for stuff that I didn't want to touch. So as an example here, I have this code directory. For some of my videos, I will put the code up. Like if we write code in a video, I'll put the code up here so people can check it out. And sometimes there's like bugs and stuff in it that I'll fix, but other people make pull requests like, hey, I want to add this feature. And I'm like, hold off on that for now. I don't want to add features to this because this is meant to serve as like a time capsule, not a time capsule, but it's meant to go with the video. The thing I created at the end of the video should be the thing that's checked in here. Maybe some bug fixes were in there, but whole new features, I would just put that in a separate video. So if you are someone where I've closed your pull request because I said, hey, I don't want to merge in here, please don't take it personally. I don't think you guys do. I think you guys understand it. We all try to be respectful. I totally genuinely appreciate if you make changes to my code and you're like, hey, I think this is cool. Like, I love that. I think it's great. I love the bug fixes you guys come at. I love when you guys make issues just saying you appreciate the code. Like, that's awesome, dude. I totally appreciate it. Just want to let you know that's what's going on there. Because yeah, I have a lot of stuff going on here. We have the code directory. So if there's any code that's in some of my videos, you'll probably be able to find it here unless I link to a specific repo. Like, the Bansi to HTML is its own GitHub repository. We have episodes. Every single episode of my series goes in here, and that file that generates those lists that actually looks inside. So let's do like episodes here, part 068. Every single one of them has a meta.txt, and meta.txt just has metadata about the episode. So that's how that script worked. Did I talk about how that script worked? What is it? Make list. Look at this. I'm wrapping up the episode. I didn't even talk about how this works. This is the make list script. Sorry for just jumping through this. My bad. There's not too much magic here. It's super boring. We basically loop over that directory of episodes like I showed you. Look at this. We loop for those meta files I just started explaining, and we extract all the data from them. So we get the number from it, the title, the link, the description, all the external links, blah, 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 blah. We go through here, and then we just print them separated by tab characters, and then a final new line to separate each row of data. So sorry, I totally glossed over this, but yeah, that's how that works. Feel free to take a look at that file. I know someone's gonna be watching this video and make a comment there. I'll try to put some note or something in the video that says like, hey, I talk about this file, I swear. So yeah, that's pretty much it. And anything else here is just like some fun stuff. So yeah, feel free to jump around, take a look at this, and hopefully it's entertaining. Hopefully you learned something here. And if you make a website, having a terminal version of the website that exists where it's like totally different, but also kind of they hint at each other, it's super cool. I think it's super fun. I love making stuff like this. So yeah, if you watch this far, thank you. I appreciate it. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like the video, tell your friends about me. Yeah. And that's all I got for you. Thank you.